Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Sigvaldo Grim here, and today we are going to do another podcast. Thank you so much for the feedback on the last podcast. I saw it was very well received by you guys, and I'm looking forward to entertain you in more podcasts. I'm looking right now for people to do podcasts with, and I have some people that are interested, but I'm still testing out what app should be the best one to use. And as soon as I'm able to set that up, you can be sure that my first podcast with someone else will be, I think, with Jigsaw. But if you have any suggestion on what app should I use in order to record the podcasts, and to do them in real time from distance, then you are more than welcome to leave the suggestions down below. And today's topic is going to be if should you play Injustice 2 Mobile in 2020? Because of two facts. First of all, I think that somebody who wants to get into a game that is pretty old is going to search on YouTube in order to find out how the game is faring in the year that he's wanting to play, since the game is fairly old right now. And at the same time, I have very often found myself searching for this kind of thing when I want to get into an older game. And there's a pretty big backlash in the community on this thing, and there are some people who are mean from this point, in my opinion. Like there are some people that do this on Facebook, and also some people on my but this happens rarely, on my YouTube comment section. And when someone is going to ask for, do you have any advice for a new player, that other person is going to be like, quit the game. Well, if you don't find the game enjoyable anymore, then that's your opinion, and you should not think that others should have that opinion by default. But nevertheless, if you should play or not Injustice 2 Mobile in 2020 is a thing that is worth discussing. And we are going to do it in this video. And we are going to branch it out in some separate areas of the game. First of all, we're going to talk about combat system, because it's a combat game after all, and that is one of the most important things. Then we're going to talk about new player friendliness, how helpful and new player friendly the game actually is. Then we are going to talk about the overall gaming experience, like after you stop being a new player and you start being a more intermediate player and you're just playing the game out of habit. Then we're going to talk about consumer friendliness and how friendly the game is towards the people that want or do not want to spend money on it. So without further ado, let's get to the first point. But remember, if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe for more. Hit that like button if you like it, and also leave me comments with topics that you want me to discuss in future videos. So the first point that we're going to look at is the combat system. And you can see in the background that is some combat of mine from the arena grind that is playing at 1.5 speed. And the combat for this, first of all, we are going to go over pros and cons. First of all, this is the greatest combat system that you have on the market. I have tested out other combat games and they have decent combat systems. Others are different than Injustice 2 Mobile, others are simply a more simplified version of it. But the conclusion of this is that this game's combat system is the best on the market. And the second point is that it is built on a very good concept and a very fluid and interactive concept with combo chaining, ability chaining, tagging in. You got everything you need over here. So now let's get into the cons of the combat system. First of all, it is sometimes kind of repetitive, because some characters have some combos that they need to do regardless of the opponents. And in terms of raids, which if you are a new player and you just went into this video, is a combat mode that you're going to play very often, where you will find a boss, and that's a raid. And in raid you are going to fight the same boss all the time, and most of the time with the same teams, and that is going to be again very repetitive. Another con of the combat system is that sometimes it's buggy. The game has some concepts that for me should be a guaranteed, but they are not. For example, there are some combos in the game that are most definitely the most optimal combos that you should do and are essential for a good gameplay, but they have somewhere between an 80 and a 90% chance to work. And that RNG on your combo working with that 10 or 20% chance to fail, it's something that I think shouldn't really exist, and you should make the combat more diverse and more interactive by other ways than a random chance to fail a combo that you must always do because it's the most optimal. And the last thing is that the combo is not very well optimized for all devices. This game, for those of you who don't know, has adaptive graphics, and that means that depending on your device it will adapt its graphic to the best for the best performance, but even after doing that you might still encounter some performance issues because it's not well optimized for all devices. And as I've heard in the community, the iPhone users are more favored into this, and it's much more smooth on iPhone, and the Android players, well, it's more or less a gamble how well the game is going to run, but you can only see that for yourself. So in conclusion, in terms of combat, this is the best game on the market right now, even though it's not perfect. Now let's get into the next point, the new player friendliness. First of all, we are going to go over the pros. First of all, you are going to get a lot of free heroes from the arena seasons if you play it, so you don't need to worry too much about unlocking new heroes since you have a place to unlock them very easily. Then there are good heroes you can farm from the campaign. For those of you who don't know, there's a game mode called campaign where you finish rounds, and after you finish a round you can continue fighting that round, or you can just auto resolve that round with a sim ticket, and you will get shards for a character. Shards are the currency in order to unlock new characters, and you can get them only by using energy daily. You don't have to buy them or gamble them away. Even though another pro is that even though this game is hard to master, it's pretty easy to play and get into. In order to have the most optimal gaming experience, you will need to seek help, but in order to understand the basis of the game, to get in the game and to find the game enjoyable, that's a pretty easy thing to do. And this, the last point for new player friendliness is going to be the reasonable amount of gems that you are going to receive at the start and during the game. Gems are the premium currency of this game, and they are used to buy chests that help you progress into the game or do other things that help you progress into the game. And you can get them of course with real money, but you can also earn them in game, and I think you earn a decent amount of them daily and weekly. And the last point for new player friendliness is not really about the game, but about the game community. There's a very friendly community regarding this game. There are great people on the Facebook groups, great people on the Discord communities, and there are some YouTubers that are really helpful. Well, including me, of course. Go ahead and check out my channel if you are a new player. Go ahead, go right now. Now let's get into the cons of this thing. So the cons for starting as a new player are the fact that you can easily fall behind in the arena system because of how it's made if you take a break. So I have a video where I explain the arena system in depth, but the arena is the place where you are going to fight other players' team in order to earn points, and the more points you have, the more likely you will be to unlock new characters at the end of the season. But this is made so that for every player that is going to make an account, he will be placed in the same league and will compete in the same league with the players that made their account recently. As this is very fair for a new player, since he will get to fight against players that have already started the game in the same period. If you take a break from the game, you will be left in that league. So let's say if for 3 months you will take a break from the game and then come back to it, the players in the same arena league as you are going to be much better than you, and you are going to have an almost impossible time to get any rewards from the arena. So if you have been away for a long time and you are coming back, you are much better off starting a new account because of the fact that you are not going to be able to do anything in the arena, and the arena is going to be a very important thing towards your progress. The next thing that is a con for the new players is that the game has a very diverse amount of heroes, which is good, but there are a lot of bad heroes and a lot of good heroes, and for a new player it is really hard to distinguish between them. So there will be a lot of new players that will start building a certain hero only to find out after 2 months of effort and resources put into that hero that he's more or less utterly useless and you should have never built him. And the game doesn't do a good job explaining this, so you might want to seek other sources in order to know if your heroes are good or not. The next con is going to be the next to no tutorial in terms of combat and how to play the game properly. The game is going to, at the start of the game, tell you the very basic things about the game, but is not going to tell you anything about the combo chaining, about how you should actually fight most optimally, and how you should play the game in terms of combat. So those things you should figure out yourself, or you should seek help from the communities. I have a few guides on how to play the game and on combat. I'll leave a link down in the description if any of you is interested. The next thing that is not very player friendly is that the chests in the shop are very scammy and very clickbaity, and they encourage new players to waste their gems. There are good chests into the store, but they are more rare, and the chests that are most of the time up advertise very strong characters that are in fact not that strong and not that must have, as must buy have misplaced reduction percentage on their costs that is not even true, and simply do not take the player's hand and put it on the right thing to buy, and most of the time the new players fall in the trap of going after legendary heroes even though they don't need them and they have abysmally low chances to get them, and that way they will waste their gems and their progress will get much harder. I also do have a series on what chests to buy after each arena season that is called Injustice 2 Mobile News, and you should also check that out if you are a new player in order to know what is going to be the most beneficial buy for you. But I know this is kind of turning into an ad for my channel, but really, I mean it, you will not be able to determine yourself which chests are worth it and which are not, so you should go ahead and seek help in terms of that. Not necessarily on my channel, but ask other people or ask the community. And the last thing that we are going to talk about is the fact as a con, even though it has a very helpful and a very great community, the game itself does not really show you that great community like other games do, and does not encourage you to engage with that community. You will have to find out yourself that this community exists, and the game will treat it as more or less inexistent. So the conclusion of this thing is that you can most definitely pick up Injustice 2 Mobile as a new player and have a good experience with it, but you will need help from other people in order to have the most optimal experience, so you should go ahead and seek YouTubers, Discords or Facebook community groups. Now we're going to talk about the overall gaming experience. And the pros of it are that it's very replayable because there are thousands of combinations that you can play in a team and thousands of combinations that the enemy can have in their team. So this leads to a unique experience almost every time you tune into a fight, at least in Arena and Champions Arena. The thing is that another good thing is that in some way it is competitive, but it's not directly competitive, and the competitiveness of it is not really aimed at another player. So most of the times that you fail, you will not be mad on another people, and you will be mad about yourself, and you will be mad about the mistakes that you have made, and you will be motivated to improve. And you will not have to report yourself to other players, and more likely report yourself to yourself and your self-improvement. A second thing is that the overall gaming experience, you get a decent amount of gems every day because of the lots of game modes that you can get them from. You get them from Arena, you get them from Operations, and you get them from Champions Arena, and sometimes some other sources, but those are the biggest three. And the gems that you are going to get are going to be reasonably enough in order for it to help you progress into the game if you know what you're doing and you know what you're buying and you are not wasting them. If you're going to buy the bad chests and going to fall for the scammy methods of marketing in the shop, then definitely they will not be enough. And the last thing is that the game has a lot of unique and diverse characters, each having a different playstyle and a different set of skills, and you are going to find lots and lots of enjoyment in experiencing playing all the different characters. The cons of the overall gaming experience is that a lot of characters are hard to get, first of all, and you might be frustrated because you see that other people have them and you don't have them and you would very much like to play them. The second thing is that the AI on most devices gets a frame advantage and they might be able to do things that they should not normally do if playing by the game's general rules, and that can give it a very frustrating vibe. Another thing is that the overall gaming experience can get repetitive, especially in terms of raids, but this is not such a big thing because the thing that will not be repetitive will be you trying to get better and better scores, and you will score higher. So yeah, it might be repetitive for some people, but for some people it's not because they can see their improvement. And the last bad thing about the overall gaming experience is that they don't have a real-time PvP, but I think that would be pretty hard to implement, but I really hope we get real-time PvP from the next Injustice mobile game, maybe Injustice 3, but for Injustice 2 mobile I don't think you should hope or wait for the real-time PvP. So in conclusion, you can have a great gaming experience most of the time, but you need to take it with a grain of salt. And now moving on to the last point, that is the consumer friendliness. And this is how well they treat people that want or do not want to spend money on the game. So, first of all, the pros of this. You get a constant amount of gems from different sources, as I have mentioned before, so you don't really have to buy them. You get rewards from Arena and Champions Arena and farming in the campaign that help you with your progress, and you can have a 100% good experience and a good account without spending a single dollar. Those are definitely achievable things. The cons of this is that the game had better days, but this thing shouldn't not really affect you as a new player, and I'll get later more into this, but the game used to be much more consumer friendly. There used to be much more free stuff. There used to be much more rewards from the accessible places, like the non-premium currency places like the Arena store, the League store, and the thing is that right now there are less and less characters, and I don't think this is a good marketing approach, because as the game gets older you should give more and more things to new players and to the old players to keep your player base, and they are doing the opposite thing, and I don't agree with this. But you can still have a free to play experience without spending a dollar. Also, the gears from the characters are harder and harder to get. Some gears are right now raid exclusive offers, or you can get them with real money. And I don't see a problem with this, because a lot of games have this system, but the problem is that this system for this game did not exist from the beginning. And for this game to get a worse system in terms of getting gears by the time it's getting older is a very poor marketing choice. If this game was like this from the launch, I wouldn't have had a problem with this, but for it to get worse with time, I don't find a logical reason for it. And the last bad thing is that there are not really any offers if you want to spend real money that are fair with your money. There are very few offers that are worth spending money on, and the rest of them are overpriced. So if you will want to spend money on this game, you will not have many options that you will not try to scam you, but again, you really don't have to spend money in order to have a good time. So the conclusion is that it had better days, but this is more of a concern to the old players, as they did live the better days. As a new player, you will take it as it is, and you can 100% have a top performance in the game with $0 spent, but don't expect to have all the characters maxed out. So after reviewing all these points, we are going to get a final conclusion. Should you play Injustice 2 Mobile in 2020? Well, will have to find this out for yourself. I think this game is 100% worth downloading and giving it a try. 100%. This is most definitely not a game that you should stay away at all costs from. And after you have downloaded the game, you will have to think for yourself if you enjoy playing it, because that is the most important thing. And if you are into fighting games, I think you have an 80 or 90% chance to enjoy this game, and this will lead to a wonderful gaming experience if taken with a grain of salt and if you are careful. So this game is not at the best that it was and not the best fighting game that it could be, but is the best option in terms of that from the market, and the rest will be up to you. So go ahead, check it out and let me know if you enjoyed this game and if you keep playing this game and if you just started the game and if you find this review helpful. And go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're a new player, because I post a lot of guides and a lot of things that help new players in this game, and a lot of character builds. So that was all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have absolutely any questions, leave them down in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and one last thing before I go, when you see this video, please mind the date that it was made in, because the opinions and the points in this video might change with time. See ya!